What's up, Pocket Dudes? Welcome to Pokemon Go to the Movies, the GigaBoots Podcast Network Pokemon Movie Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Video Games, and with me is Bob,
Pokemon Power,
Chris Wolfhard,
Gas,
Dr. Aggro,
PP,
and Millennium Mike's very own Shiba Yagato.
I've never won harder in my life.
It's horseshit that you got 2 movies in a row.
Let's go! Well, I had to wait how long? I did my waiting, sir.
I had to watch a Luxray die in the last movie. I still don't feel like I'm the winner.
I'm so sorry.
But that's right.
You will never win.
Arceus descended and pointed at Dan Video Games and said, "You will never win." But that's right. This time we're watching the 21st Pokemon movie, Pokemon the Movie: The Power of Us, or as it's known in Japan, Pokemon the Movie: Everyone's Story, a patently better name.
Yeah, that makes a lot more sense considering what this movie is.
I think they both kind of work.
The English title is meant to be an homage.
Like, I get it.
Yeah, I get what the English one is going for, but it just feels like with how different this is, it makes much more sense.
Yeah, the English
The
title
Japanese one makes much more sense.
is about Pokemon Power. The English title is about collaborating with the Pokemon, but I think the larger and more important thing with this movie, as we'll get into in a moment, is how this is everyone's story. This is a movie very evenly split amongst a very large cast. A thing they've done before, a very large cast, but not a thing they've done before, evenly distributing the story among them.
Yeah.
I thought you were about to say not a thing they've done well before. Which would also be true.
Look at this large cast of people who will disappear for 50 minutes.
Well, we'll see. Now that Ash is actually dead, he is no longer the main character of reality. Now he's more like a wandering mythological character, like a tall tale almost, who may show up to assist, but he's no longer the main character. These other people are, and he's like Auron in Final Fantasy X now.
Yeah.
We're straight up Mad Max territory. This isn't a literal thing that happened. This is just a story they tell about the wanderer named Ash.
If you've never listened to Pokemon Go to the Movies before, what's going to happen is at the beginning, we're going to give a brief synopsis of the film's plot. And then we're going to move on to rating it and ranking it in various sort of axes of how we view Pokemon movies. You know, we're going to talk about it on the whimsy meter, how whimsical it was. The Dex check, how good is the Pokemon reps this time? The gun check, whether or not it could be better solved with a gun. The most valued Pokemon award, where each of us gets to choose who the MVP is. We aren't talking about whether or not Ash is in a coma anymore because we figured that out last time. And then, of course, Arceus Ex Machina, how conveniently it wraps up in order to return to the status quo for the series. And, of course, rating the movie on a 1 to 809 scale because, of course, this is a 7th gen movie.
Kind of.
Not that you would know from the majority of Pokemon in it, but it is true. So, let's get to it. We don't open with the world of Pokemon. We don't even open with the narrator. We don't even, when we get a narrator at the end of this film, have the world of Pokemon said in that order. But that man split up those words evenly and put them backwards through a sentence just to screw with me.
Yeah, it's true.
Anyway, we open on Risa, a young girl with blonde hair and some streaks in it, highlights and stuff, leaving school and looking longingly at a track and field meet. She walks into a hospital room where Rick, her brother, friend,
Yes, younger brother is what I
leg is
gathered.
in a cast.
This beginning of the movie, for just about a 1.5 scene, I was like, are we in the real world? Oh, no. And then
We're never going there again.
She walks down the hall and sees a poster with 3 differently colored cars. Red, blue, green, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so excited. I don't know which car to choose." Rick asks if Reese is running again, and she tells him to mind himself. He transitions immediately to ask for her favor involving the Wind Festival in Fula City. He wants her to catch a Pokemon. He says he can't go because he would collapse. You know, his leg is all messed up and he would just be obsessed with how cool his good sister is. She's so amazing. And I'm like, do you often collapse thinking about how cool your sister is? Anyways.
Don't worry about it.
Goes, okay, I'll do it.
It's fine. And in the subtitles, it's not about her being cool at all. It's I'll collapse and die thinking of my horrible sister who didn't come do this for me.
Yeah, I gathered that was the intent originally in the script. But anyway, Rick gives her really cool big shades to go to the festival. Here, wear these Google glasses.
You know what helps this movie a lot? Is that all these new characters it's actually about have really good designs.
Oh, God, does that
unlike
help.
almost every other movie in this entire franchise.
They have good designs sometimes, but they really do just like we've had trios, plural, of characters just left on the floor for 50 minutes at a time. And it's like, oh, yeah, there's that. Yeah, I remember you from the beginning. Welcome back to the film. Oh, you just have like 2 scenes. Okay, bye.
Yeah, and other times we'll have like 2 well-designed characters and then just a bunch of filler characters, all sorts of stuff like that.
Also, it's really clear, even this far in the movie, that this is like a movie with budget and some direction.
Yeah.
Hey,
And ideas.
you want to know something I found out when I did some digging into the movie?
Oh.
Wit Studio animated this shit.
Oh, will that do it?
It does do it. That explains why I looked at some of these shots again and I was like, man, these battles are really dynamic. What the fuck?
Yeah, this movie looks really great, and it is, just to be clear, before I get any further into the synopsis, a normal film. This is not Pokemon product in film format for you to consume. They made a movie.
Yeah, it's like about characters
ideas,
and
and
themes.
cast and characters with motivations and backgrounds that interlock in interesting ways. I will go ahead and get out ahead of the rating at the end of this and say, yeah, you should probably watch this one. Anyway, elsewhere, a pink hair girl wakes up in an absolutely huge home looking out on Fula City with its fireworks. Her father leaves in a limo. Pidgeys fly by and lead us through the city and to the title card. We get a little bit of intro montage as Ash is riding a cable car and the city is incredibly Louisiana coded. There's an old woman who's shown hating Pokemon. There's a green-haired nerd who's dropping papers and losing it over a big event that's tomorrow. And there's an obvious dirtbag named Callahan hanging out with his niece Kelly and sister Mia. A presenter on, quote, the Pokemon channel, quote, tells the lore of the Wind Festival. They say that the festival was formed after a promise with Lugia. People and Pokemon supported each other. Lugia saw that bond of friendship and granted them the power of wind, which the people used to develop Fula City. Each year, Lugia visits them and gives them the gift of the wind for another year. Wow, Lugia is so cool. This is unlike any other fiction involving a second-gen legendary and their relation with the people and blessings. Because, you know, no one died.
Right. Very different. No one burned to death.
Lugia didn't wake up after the fire and went, oh, everybody's dead. You're reincarnated as dogs. Is that better now?
Okay, but those dogs do look sick as hell.
They are sick as hell. In the comments, let us know, which legendary dog would you like to be reborn as?
You know, if you had to experience the horrible pain of dying in a fire and then come back as a cool dog, which element would you choose?
See, element-wise, I'd go Suicune, but then you had that giant thing on your head, and I feel like that's actually a bit of a mobility issue.
Yeah, plus you got the ribbons, and if those get tangled in anything, you're kind of just fucked.
Oh, this is hell. Anyway, the host of the Pokemon channel thing says, tries to explain there's an interesting fire that happened recently-ish, I guess a while back. And at this moment in this video, we cut to the wide shot. Callahan has been watching this on a couple that's sitting next to him on a bench's phone. They look at him and are disgusted by being near him for even 1 second and leave the film forever. They have made the correct choice.
No, but that's their loss. They don't get to meet the guy later. You know?
Is Callahan worth it? Is it worth it to deal with Callahan, rather?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Callahan's niece, Kelly, asked to see Callahan's Pokemon because he has a Pokeball. And he says, oh, I can't show off my Pokemon. You know, it's the strongest kind, but I can't show it off because it's so tired from a big battle.
He says we have the best Pokemon.
I ask what his Pokemon is. He says it's great. It's very good, sir. She then points up at a blimp and goes, "What's that Pokemon?" And he goes, "Oh, it's Lugia." And then he lies out of his ass about how he saved people from the fire because he's so cool. Nearby, the green-haired nerd is like, "I wish I could lie to people." Or maybe just speak in whole sentences. Maybe that was more of his focus. Unclear.
This green-haired nerd, I kept being like, this looks like some character I've seen before.
Yes.
And I've been able to find him.
Okay.
I posted him in the channel. He is
That's a Gundam, isn't it?
Maximilian Genius from Macross.
Macro.
Oh, okay.
Just because you're right doesn't mean you're not a son of a bitch.
It bugged me the whole movie. I was like, this is a Macross character. I know it.
That old lady who hates Pokemon runs into a group of small kids shilling their lemonade. And when their Fampy goes up to her, she yells at all of them. They walk off quickly and explain, "Dude, that's the old lady who's world famous for hating Pokemon. Notice her weird glove in the middle of summer?" Then the pink hair girl from earlier runs into their wagon full of lemons, and they identify her as Margot, the mayor's daughter. They then berate her for ruining their ability to make lemonade. Editor's note, they dropped 5 out of 200 lemons.
It's over. It's so over.
Okay, but for 10-year-olds, lemonade is about the vibes, and their vibes are harsh. They can't do this.
You know what? Maybe you're right. That old lady? Fine. Margot ruined everything. Ash shows up and is like, hey, whoa. It's a festival. Let's have fun. So they attack him with Fampy, and he goes, fuck that. Uses Pikachu. Instantly owns them. Sends Fampy flying into the air unconscious, and it lands on a kid, knocking them out too. The other 2 kids freak out, carry them off quickly, and they're like, oh, cool. Great, yeah. Team Rocket is nearby, and they're like, hey, let's get that Pikachu. Meow's like, yeah, we got it this time. And Jesse's like, what if we made juice? They were like, what? What the fuck are you on about, bitch? Wobbuffet then shows up to say, Wobbuffet.
Give him an Oscar.
Wobbuffet with the Chad shit getting an Oscar.
Please.
At least a daytime Emmy. Come on.
Oh, yeah, of course. He earned it. I mean, how many episodes of the Pokemon series is Wobbuffet in?
I'm sure someone's done the math on that. I'm sure it's an absurd number.
Or, as I said last episode, in the, once in a lifetime mispronunciation, Wobbuffet. I have still not recovered from. Margot points up to the mountainside sort of stuff and is like, hey, Ash, this is the Eternal Flame. It's atop that stadium. And Lugia has to see it before sending the wind. And then Ash is like, what's that dilapidated building over there? And Margot explains that's where the fire happened. It's an abandoned wind generator. The fire was put out by Lugia, creating the rain. Gee, Lugia really does it all. Callahan, meanwhile, is winning at a fair game sort of thing where you throw the ball at the bullseye and you get enough points. He got a Clefairy doll for his niece. She's bouncing around and elated, but bumps into Risa, who, upon being bumped into, immediately crumbles. And I feel bad. And I'm like, it just, like they said she recovered. It was implied she recovered. Is that a prosthetic leg? Like, she crumbled so quickly. I'm worried about her now. She was just instantly ready to just take the fall.
I mean, she's got pretty chunky heels on. You hit those at a low angle and you're going down.
That child's a pro assassin. They have to be stopped. She drops her Pokeball when she falls, Risa does, and her Pokeball's empty. So Kelly asks why it's empty. And Risa says, I'm having trouble finding the right Pokemon. Kelly's like, yo, Risa, my uncle can help. Risa shows Callahan the picture of the Pokemon she wants. The audience doesn't get to see. He starts sweating bullets and says, it's really rare. It's up over there on the mountain. Yeah, you need to go over there. That's where it is. Recent intel says that. And she's like, oh, okay, thank you. An announcement rings out over the crowd that they're going to do a catch race. Ash is elated. Kelly says, oh, my Uncle Callahan could do it. But, Callahan's sister Mia knows he sucks instantly. Everyone knows he sucks. But Callahan's like, nah, I got this. I got this somehow. Please, God. Elsewhere, the green-haired nerd, his name, by the way, Torin, which I feel bad because I should have some other name to associate Torin with other than Corrin from fucking Fire Emblem, but here we are. Torin is being berated by his coworker because they just found out the speaker for tomorrow's presentation isn't going to show up, and that is an important presentation for the continuation of their research, which implies money.
Yes.
Which implies money in the Pokemon universe.
True.
Which is in the games, but really isn't present in the anime that I've seen.
I mean, it's some
people
points
are rich.
People are rich. There's whole episodes about Team Rocket making money in Sun Moon.
Yes. And they're literally doing that in this movie.
Right. So money is a real concept.
But basic needs to live don't cost money.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Pokemon is a post-scarcity socialist society.
It's still alien as a concept to me 21 movies later.
Well, that's because you're an American.
It's true.
My condolences.
Better thing possible?
No. That old Pokemon hating lady stumbles into Torin's lab. Well, maybe not stumbles. She barges. Let's go with that. She barges into Torin's lab and mistakes his voice as coming out of his Chansey. When he reveals he's just behind the Chansey, she freaks out then? Like the sight of him is more jarring than the thought of a Chansey speaking English. And then stumbles, knocking over a boiling flask full of pink liquid, which spills onto the ground near her.
You know, her being kind of chill with the Chansey talking begs the question of how many Meowth-esque Pokemon are there actually?
I know.
I mean, we've already in all these movies seen way too many talking Pokemon, so I guess
They're all legendaries or mythicals for the most part.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. I think most of those...
Except for, like, Zorua.
What's so special about this Chansey that normalized it for her?
You get to this age in the Pokemon universe. Mm-hmm. You've been on at least one of those adventures where you find a legendary who talks to you. That wasn't just Ash. The world is incredibly large.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. She has many years behind her.
Bob, are you claiming that a midlife crisis in the Pokemon universe means a literal crisis where you have to help a legendary get a magic crystal or some shit?
I mean, yes. There are many crises on different levels.
This is true. Fair point.
I have to go to work. I have to go to work, Kyogre. I can't do it.
No, boy, your job is to put the orb back in the pedestal at the bottom of the sea.
We need that. We need you to do that.
My manager's going to be really upset if I don't show up on time.
Your manager will be dead if the earth floods. Put the orb back in the pedestal.
Yeah, but at least maybe it's not my fault. I don't know. Torin stops the pink liquid from pouring out onto the ground, and the old lady hands him paperwork for the festival and leaves. Callahan erupts into this room and calls Torin brother, and he yells that Torin's a Pokemon researcher, which means he knows everything about Pokemon. Torin freaks out because the doors are trying to close on Callahan, and he won't let it happen. He's just standing in the middle of these automatic doors closing on him over and over, and he does not know this man. Margot, pink hair girl from before, is traveling through the woods and comes up on a dilapidated building where she leaves food and drink for a mysterious Pokemon. A Teddiursa and Ditto are there hanging out as well. The catch race is about to start, and nearby Team Rocket is selling Lumberry juice in Lumberry costumes.
I spent way too long trying to figure out what Pokemon Meowth was dressed as.
Like, as far as I know, bloated Cactuar isn't a Pokemon. At least it doesn't look like that. As the dude explains the rules, which are catch Pokemon with our specific ball, Callahan talks to Torin on a headset, who refers to him as Mr. Callahan. Probably the only time Callahan's ever heard that in his life.
Okay, like there's a lot of slant I'm hearing against fat dirtbags who lie a lot. And as a fat dirtbag who lies a lot, I'm going to have to put my foot down. This man may not be anyone's ideal, but goddamn it, he is trying. He's got one goal. It's to get his cute niece to like him.
Yeah, like, his motives here are very much just, I don't want to be the lame uncle. And does he take it too far? Absolutely. But he's dedicated to the cause, and I'll give him that.
Did he accidentally start an international incident and possibly a horrible global crisis?
How was he supposed to know his lies would start an international incident and global crisis?
I'm just saying, even halfway through this film, Callahan realizes he's a piece of shit. When's your turn, Akra?
When's Torin's turn to realize that he's a fucking monster?
Okay, look, no one knows why Torin was making nerve gas.
No, he literally explains that it's because it had
Properties.
for human medicine.
Yeah, bro didn't need to make enough to wipe out a city in a handheld format.
Look, just because Torin is an instrumental plot element in a Christopher Nolan Batman film doesn't mean he's necessarily a bad guy on purpose.
Look, he just didn't understand how much volume he was creating.
He's like, how many PSI? 7,000? Okay.
It's not better.
Bob's like, hey, go easy on him. He's horribly inept to the negligence of many people's death. Where the fuck am I?
Yeah, we sure got lost in the weeds on that one.
We're going to start the Festival of the Hunt, except with fewer safety regulations.
Yeah, it's true, and he's getting advice over his headset from someone Agro relates to and says his very cool uncle. So the race starts. Everyone starts running around and catching Pokemon. The Pokemon have like a little thing on them to let you know these are not normal people's Pokemon. These are the ones you catch for the catch race. Please do not capture normal people's Pokemon. And a Tyranitar starts freaking out and rampaging. Ash is like, holy crap, and just starts chasing after it. Elsewhere, Callahan is already just completely exhausted because he's out of shape, but he slowly makes his way to a Sudowoodo who's being attacked by a Golduck. He nonchalantly catches the Golduck without once attacking it and tells the Sudowoodo in the most, this man is absolutely going to LTG if one bad thing happens to him. He should stop lying to himself. It's, quote, habit forming. And somberly walks off.
Absolute Chad.
Holy shit. Ash leaps onto the Tyranitar and gets Pikachu to use Iron Tail on it. That's the move of the film, baby. Iron Tail comes out several times.
That's the move of Pikachu for the last 10 years, so.
I'm just saying, like,
True.
it used to be like, use Thunderbolt. And now it's Iron Tail will save everything in this film.
Well, Pikachu has two stubby limbs to punch something, so he has to use Iron Tail. Also, a Tyranitar?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see the fucking insurance premiums for this event. I want to see the I want to see the not like the fucking forms you have to sign to be able to participate. Like at least in the running of the bulls they have like fences set up and it's planned. This just seems like set Godzilla loose in the city, somebody will take care of it.
Maybe it's like Girls and Panzer rules, and if they wreck your shop, you like get twice the insurance money because it's tourism.
I would say that the stall owners have partner Pokemon who could help them with this, but most of the people in this fucking city have baby Pokemon. They're fucked.
It's true.
You know, that's it. They're just like, you've got Pokemon. The only thing that can stop a bad Pokemon is a good Pokemon.
That is kind of the point of this movie. They're like, how do we defeat the bad gas? Oh, I know. Good gas.
To be more realistic, all the good Pokemon would have to run away when the bad Pokemon showed
Oh,
up.
my God.
Oh.
So, that one Iron Tail knocks over the Tyranitar entirely. Ash consoles the Tyranitar and helps it stand back up. They're good buddies now. The event ends. Ash gets second place. Callahan gets first and then gloats. They ask, hey, what are you up to now, Callahan? You're so cool. And then he remembers lying to Risa about the extremely rare Pokemon being in the area, and he tells them the same lie, but even vaguer. He says he's going to get it. This bullshit hits the airwaves thanks to the Pokemon Channel kid from the intro, and it's on everyone's smartphones, including poachers. You know, poachers, that concept in Pokemon that makes a lot of sense of when these people hunt and capture Pokemon, they're bad guys.
Yeah, because they're not using officially licensed products.
I mean, yes, but also it seems like they resell them on the black market, I think is always the implication.
To fucking who?
I mean, we're talking about implications. The reality is that they don't do it with any joy and whimsy in their heart, and that is the real crime.
I like the idea of a black market for Centrit.
I think they eat the fucking things.
Oh, God.
You know what?
Maybe.
If they just show that, and then part of me is like, they wouldn't show that in a Pokemon film, but we're 2 for 2 on Pokemon films in a row that just go, hey, watch this Pokemon die. Anyway, Callahan is traveling with his sister and niece when Sudowoodo finds him and starts following him. He's like, leave me alone. I didn't capture you. What are you doing? And then his sister's like, ha, ha, ha. So Sudowoodo keeps following. The mayor is eating with his daughter Margot in their giant house. Margot brings up the rumors of a Pokemon in the area, and her father says, Zeraora isn't in the area anymore. It's just a rumor. I'm sorry, as a Floridian, I really love this arc of Risa's. In the mountains, Risa is beaten and scared, scraped, covered in branches and leaves, and rangers find her. Haven't you heard of the curse? What are you doing up here? And she's like, I don't know what that is, but I'm trying to find this rare Pokemon, and it's just Eevee.
Which they say isn't rare, but that thing is pretty rare.
They're like, that's not rare, and also it's nowhere near here. And she's like, I'm going to end Callahan's life.
She's real for that. If I hiked up a mountain all day to be rescued in the middle of the night, surrounded by a bunch of nocturnal Pokemon, and was told, yeah, you got gaslit, I'd kill him, man.
That's completely fair. It drives me crazy because we see her going around town like normal throughout the entire day. She waited until the sun was going down, like basically completely set before she started climbing this mountain.
Like a tourist.
She's way too foolish.
Look, we're lucky the Wind Festival isn't happening as she walks down traffic the wrong way, shit-faced. Just in the middle of the fucking road, the cable car's like, fucking move! I can't go around you!
Wanders into Tyranitar.
Everyone on the cable car is screaming, white girl, you can't walk there, white girl! White girl!
White girl! Move your ass!
Fuck, white girl got her AirPods and she can't hear us! White bitch!
Honestly, based on some shit that happens later in this movie, Risa is legitimately built different.
No, she is.
The old lady gets home to her place. You know, the one who's racist against Pokemon. And her house is teeming with Pokemon. She screams and leaves the building. Elsewhere.
And they're just wrecking her shit.
Yeah.
Everybody's like, oh, that mean old lady doesn't like Pokemon. Well, golly gosh, gee, I wonder why.
She failed the legendary challenge and she's cursed for life.
That's why we don't return the orb.
This is what happens when you go to your fucking 9-to-5 job instead of returning the orb.
Why do you think 2 of the Pokemon in her house were water types?
There you go. Torn is optimistic for the presentation, while, unbeknownst to him, Team Rocket is digging around in his stuff. He puts down 2 identical SD cards next to each other. Hope nothing bad happens. And he hears a shatter in the lab. He goes to see if anyone's in there, but he just finds his essence made of Smeargle ink shattered on the ground. Team Rocket elsewhere is out of breath from running out very quickly. The old lady the next morning wakes up on her porch cuddling 2 Pokemon. She freaks out and then falls downstairs. Ash is at his hotel or whatever, and the elevator door opens to reveal Reese is still beaten and scraped and dirty in the elevator, and she screams, I found you, and grabs Ash really quickly. Pikachu, with no hesitation, tases both of them immediately. Pikachu is very possessive. There's a little bit of explanation. Most of it happens off screen, and Ash is going to help her find an Eevee. He gets her out in the middle of the field, they find an Eevee, and then he's going to coach her to battle the Eevee with Pikachu and catch them. After the battle, successfully catching Eevee, Risa wipes her forehead, and Ash freaks out because, quote, her eyebrows disappeared. Pikachu and Eevee play around. Fun fact, did you know Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee came out at the same time as this movie?
Whoa.
Did you know that? This movie is a psyop.
Hey, I want you to know that this movie is better Eevee propaganda than Let's Go ever was.
Risa says catching Eevee felt great. She hasn't felt passion in a long time. She tells Ash that she was the regional track and field champion, but she got injured, so she hasn't run since, even though she healed up completely. She got too scared to run. Ash says that with Eevee by her side, she'll definitely be able to run again. The old woman is pissed at Torrin for the Pokemon following her ever since she left the lab. Torrin explains the flask was full of the essence of sweet scent, so that's why they followed her. She screams at him, and he explains that he can't neutralize the scent. Elsewhere, Officer Jenny is talking to the mayor about vandalism in the area, and the mayor puts the festival activities on hiatus. Something I enjoy about this, there is no plot explanation for the vandalism. That is just realistic depiction of a coastal area during a festivity.
Yeah, no, I got some good Jaws energies from some of this. It was just, they're just trying to make this event work.
Please. Risa runs into Callahan and wants to murder him. Ash offers his and everyone else's help with fixing the vandalism, cleaning up around town, etc. Callahan doesn't want to be dragged into this, and he mentions he has a speaking engagement at a research conference, and his sister questions this, and Risa says, I feel bad for your niece because you're a total piece of shit. I'm paraphrasing.
But this time he wasn't even lying.
I know.
That's so sad.
That's an important moral. Aggro. Callahan gives up and decides to help. That Pokemon Channel dude talks about how the city is working really hard to reopen the festival by cleaning up all the vandalism. In the middle of the cleanup crew, the 3 kids from earlier with the lemonade explained that the fire 50 years ago cursed the mountain, and if people set foot up there, it'll curse everyone. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this exposition from a group of 7-year-olds. Everyone's back to working hard, getting the festival back on track. Risa yells, it sure went a lot faster with everyone working together, and then looked at the camera and said, is the theme of this movie. Callahan, freaking out because he's running out of time for the research thing, darts off from the main group, who then just goes, man, that guy's sus. Let's chase after him. Torin is sweating bullets because, of course, the presentation is about to start and Callahan didn't show up to properly present.
Couldn't anyone else? They have like 5 other researchers here. Why aren't any of them giving the presentation?
They all want to see Torin fail.
I guess.
Yeah, they all suck.
Shit, one of them looks like, what was it, Bill Blackwell from fucking Mighty Number 9. Yeah, they suck.
Oh, God.
Don't mention him.
I thought you were going to mention that one of them was voiced by Vic McFuckface.
Yeah, no, there are several pieces of shit in this movie. They seem to be voiced by Vic.
Yeah, there's a couple bit parts. The scientist, one of them, I don't remember which one is the most prominent one. And I was like, I have to listen to 3 scenes of this man. Well, that's 3 strikes. This fucking sucks.
Torin, in his nervousness about the presentation, hands the wrong SD card to his coworker. On stage, he can't even talk. He can't get one sentence out. He's freaking out right now, and Callahan arrives too late to help with the presentation. Torin then plays the video on stage after his coworker reminds him to do that, and it's a POV shot of Callahan catching the Pokemon. It's a recording of the catch race. Callahan's sister asks him, What was that? In this really stirred voice, he freaks out, drops his Pokeball, and it turns out to be empty. His niece is heartbroken. She yells she hates him and runs off before quickly running out of breath because she has like a medical condition thing. It's not great. Backstage at the presentation, however, the old woman is just hanging out in the lab, and Team Rocket is in there, who detonates a smoke bomb before running off with some shit.
So why did Torin even record that?
Yeah, that's my question.
Look, he had a Bluetooth headset, and apparently the Bluetooth headset had on it a camera, and in order to do a FaceTime call, it had to activate and record everything. I guess. That's what I'm going with.
I feel like you could have easily tied this back in if you were like, yeah, no, I wanted footage of how Staryu's move that, stuns Pokemon or whatever actually functions, and this was my opportunity. Because I'm not going to go fight a bunch of Pokemon. I'm too scared for that. And then they just didn't go out of their way to use that really easy explanation.
I mean, I figure basically it's just he used one of the cameras he had on hand, and they would obviously be set up to record whatever they're looking at.
Are you telling me when I stream video to the internet, it's recorded?
Oh, God.
I'm not going to tell you that because regardless of what you set the settings to, God alone only knows whether or not any actual function on a piece of capture hardware is working or not.
That's true.
So with the smoke bomb going off that Team Rocket detonated, it starts a stampede and a panic in the crowd. After they stampede and disseminate the crowd, Risa goes into the presentation room to find her Eevee has been trampled by the panicked crowd.
Yeah, God.
Yeah, it's fucked up.
Ash takes off after Team Rocket, has Pikachu's use Thunderbolt, and Wobbuffet reflects, and then they get away. Holy shit. Might be the strongest performance Wobbuffet has put in any of these films.
Call it a wa buffet because I'm eating good. Give this boy an Oscar right now.
I mean,
I say it again.
look, he had him reflect a legendary, like, what was that, 4 movies ago?
Pikachu's stronger.
I mean, maybe.
Pikachu's used Iron Tail once, and Tyranitar sat the fuck down.
Well, to be fair, Pikachu Iron-tailed the thing that was choking Tyranitar, so of course Tyranitar sat down. He was like, God, I can breathe.
Yeah, that is true. Cable got wrapped around Tyranitar, and that's why it freaked out.
Yeah.
So about an insurance policy. Anyway, later, Eevee is at the Pokemon Center with Risa. It has its leg in a cast. Callahan enters the lobby and explains the last couple of days have really taken their toll on Kelly because she has, like, energy problems, stamina issues. He blames himself for lying so much, which he is very right to do. Ash... I'm like the worst voice in Callahan's head. You should walk into the ocean, Callahan.
Yeah, you're the devil on his shoulder, just low-tier godding him.
Yeah, nonstop. It's like, oh, I wonder what he'll say today. Oh, LTG again? No new ideas? Okay, voice in my head. All right. Ash shows up in the lobby. Torn explains that what Team Rocket stole was the effect spore. He filed a report with Officer Jenny. Callahan's sister, Mia, and Kelly are in the room. Kelly's asleep. Mia says she's going to go home tomorrow. Callahan wanders off into the night and says, Kelly doesn't want to see his face again, not after that disappointment. Sudowoodo tries to follow him and soothe him, but Callahan says, no, and just wanders off into the night. It's very sad. Risa blames herself for Eevee's injury because she wouldn't run in for the Eevee. Callahan, sitting on a park bench, throws his empty Pokeball away. It's very sad. Margot looks out on the city at night, hearing from her dad that they're going to continue the festival tomorrow. She has a very serious look in her eye. Torin is sad over having lost, the nerve gas. Kind of a down moment for Torin.
Maybe you should have more security measures around the nerve gas, but I don't know.
Maybe just a little. Most fucking action movies, like spy thrillers, have that shit in like a super vault.
Yeah, like, can we not afford a basic safe?
No, apparently we can't.
He didn't see the danger of nerve gas.
He keeps it on the counter next to his Diet Mountain Dew.
So what we're saying is a post-scarcity economy is actually bad because that means science can't get funded.
There you go. That's the problem. He can't afford a safe, so, maybe scarcity's good, actually. Oh, and in the middle of all these emotional moments, Ash sleeps well because he's the very best. Oh, yeah, that old lady still hates Pokemon. In the woods, Team Rocket is drinking lumberry juice, and no one can remember who the hell grabbed the effect spore. Jesse's like, I handed it to you. And didn't I hand it to you? And a Rattata making the best performance sounds a Rattata ever has, I feel like, going for the tiniest, most mild steps in the world, moves past the effect spore, which is just sitting on a fucking hill.
As a small aside, this Rattata voice fucked me up because I heard it and I had a PTSD flashback to that bitch from Yu-Gi-Oh! Weevil Underwood. So I look it up. Sure enough, the guy's voice credits, Yu-Gi-Oh! Duel Links, Weevil Underwood, and I wanted to die.
It's funny as hell.
If you go back and listen to it in the dub, that Rattata, he's just doing like a little Weevil voice. He's got the rasp and everything. It's the same vocal range.
Oh
it's
my
so
God.
bad.
That's awesome.
It's so bad.
The next morning, the wind has stopped. The eternal flame is gone. Torin's coworkers are cleaning up and blaming Torin for the failed presentation. The one who looks like the face swap Bill Blackwell, I'm sorry, it's in the notes, I have to read it, is telling them to stop speaking so harshly of him because he cares so much about Pokemon and Pokemon research. And that's a very important quality when you make nerve gas for a living. As they're about to leave town, Kelly feels bad about what she said to Callahan. Mia tells her a small lie about Callahan's like, yeah, he's just going home. It's fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. It's fine. Hey, look at your doll. Isn't that cute? Don't think about it. Ash goes to investigate the eternal flame. Pikachu and Eevee pick up on a scent. They follow the trail to a Smeargle, who is Torin's Smeargle. Torin realizes the scent is Smeargle's ink, which they made an essence out of. He pulls out a black light, which highlights the shoe prints on the ground leading away from the eternal flame. In the forest, in the middle of the forest, Margot is hanging out at the dilapidated building with Zeraora. everyone's favorite legendary. Pokemon poachers appear and are like, hey, what's up? You seen any cool Pokemon around here? And she's like, yeah, like way that way. You should just keep on walking. And they're like, oh, okay, cool, great. Thank you, child. They start walking off in that direction.
Guzzlord just over there.
That would be so good. They would not be ready.
No.
In the Shulk voice, that's Guzzlord over there.
That's Guzzlord over there. They start wandering off, but then Teddy Ursa and Ditto show up, and they're like, it's a Teddy Ursa and a Ditto. We should capture them. It's like, that's the point we got to. We're just going to...
Look, they'll take anything at this point.
I know you used a net gun on a Sentra in a scene I didn't even recap, but come on, man, have some standards.
The Ditto, at least I can understand. But, like, Teddy Ursa? Huh?
It's a combo deal, okay? They want the Ditto, and they might as well.
Like, it's barely any effort to upgrade to the full combo.
Yeah, for only 50 cents more, you get a large, so that's fine.
Yeah. So they try to capture these Pokemon. Zeraora gets pissed and attack their Pokemon. After an intense back and forth, though, they knock out Zeraora, the best legendary that everyone loves. They then use the net gun to catch Zeraora, but Pikachu, check this out, uses its tail to blow up the net because Pikachu is the real legendary.
Look, Zeraora's had a rough
true.
day. He's been beat up or something. I don't know. He's in bad shape.
He's been day drinking or something.
He's been
bad
drinking
shape.
Yes,
for
he
50
has.
years.
Look, he doesn't know any better way to cope with trauma. You think they got therapy up in the mountains?
No, I've seen the visions Zeraora has when it sleeps. Get some fucking psychiatry, Jesus.
Yeah.
Zeraora would rather day drink and fight random people than fucking get therapy. Ash, the mayor, Risa, the old lady, and Torin all show up, and the mayor's like, you better think carefully before taking your next move. And the poacher's like, yeah, fuck this, and just leave.
But the thing is, like, he's so badass, but he's like, or I'll sue you, or some shit.
Right.
Like, what the fuck?
Ash shows up like Goku almost.
It's true.
Like, it's crazy. Like, they literally do the, oh, I'm here now, don't worry, like Goku shot.
Yeah,
Oh my god.
The perks of being dead.
At the beginning of the movie with those kids who are making lemonade, he kind of just goes, your Phanpy looks strong, let me fight it, and then kills it like he is Goku. Oh, fuck.
He's like, cool, thanks, bye. They're like, my Phanpy's in horrible pain, Ash. Do you feel nothing? And he just walks off. Torn finds the Eternal Flame nearby. Risa is shocked that Zeraora is here because, holy shit, Zeraora is real and here. Margot explains that Zeraora saved her from a rock slide once. Callahan's lie scared Margot into thinking people would try to catch Zeraora, which she was right to think, evidently. So she stole the Eternal Flame to cause problems with the festival and have it shut down, which would distract and then drive away people, presumably. The mayor explains, Zeraora lived in this area for a long time. He was the master of the Pokemon, but they cut down the forest, the people did, to make room for more people. Also, people caused the fire 50 years ago. Zeraora was the only one who didn't give up on saving the many Pokemon left behind. All Zeraora wanted to do was live with the Pokemon in the forest in peace, but all the trainers kept doing more and more distrustful things to discern the trust of Zeraora. Then the previous mayor, lied about Zeraora vanishing and forbade people from entering the mountain ever again. That worked out great. As the mayor finishes explaining, a giant green purple smoke explosion goes off in the distance. It's the effect spore, or more accurately, it's gas. It's enormous.
Yeah.
Everyone in the city can see it. This is literally a catastrophic event.
It gets bigger with every shot.
Yeah, this is a terror attack.
It is literally a terror attack. Torrid realizes it's its effect spore, and Pidgeys who are flying by get one whiff of it and just collapse onto the ground. He has his chance to use aromatherapy on the Pidgeys, and they recover. Officer Jenny calls the mayor and explains that anyone who inhales the smoke that is enveloping the entire city is suffering from numbness, so it has been classified as a poison. Ash says, "We need to save the city," and explains we can do it thanks to our Pokemon friends giving us the ability to do much more than we're normally capable of via Pokemon power. Risa laughs at him because he's a dork. The mayor's like, Pokemon power. Oh, that's going to make good headlines. I should say that a bunch. Torn thinks he can make a cure, but he doesn't know how to disseminate it. The old lady says they can use the wind generator to disseminate a gas. You just said it in reverse and it blows wind. That is not how wind generators work.
She made a really weird wind generator.
She apparently did because she was the one who built it. What the fuck? Everyone makes a plan to split up. This part will help the Pokemon who are suffering. This part will get to the plant, etc., etc. We cut to the city. Callahan is running around panicked. He gets a call. His sister and niece are on the gondola right now. He is crying and pissed about how much he sucks and how he can't figure out how to save them. Sudowoodo starts lightly pummeling him on the chest to motivate him, and when he looks down, it turns out Sudowoodo is holding his empty Pokeball he threw away in its hands. Callahan tears up, and he's like, "You really want to be my Pokemon? Oh my God, I suck so much." And then he catches Sudowoodo. It's an emotional moment, and they embrace each other. Callahan states his intent to save his family no matter what it takes, and Sudowoodo starts screaming as the smoke comes for them. They run. The mayor goes into a meeting room. They're like, "How the fuck are we going to solve this, mayor?" And he goes, "Pokemon power." Torrin shows up at the lab. They demand he helps them evacuate, but he can't tell them what he needs from them and what he's trying to do. But Chansey puts its hand on his back, and he yells, "Hey, I know you think I'm weird and suck and you hate me, but I won't run away, and I'm going to use my research to help people and Pokemon." And they say they believe in him. Zeraora has a really fucked up nightmare about people hunting it through the woods at night with torches, causing the forest fire. And the last shot of this is a person enveloped in flames coming straight for Zeraora. It is the craziest imagery I think I've seen in any of these, because we haven't seen the CG remake film yet.
It's unclear whether this is like a nightmare metaphor or literally something that he saw happen once.
Right?
I feel like the idea of a man burning alive and his last words being, "No, you gotta catch that pussy," is insane. However, I could see it happening.
The only way to catch Zeraora is to light yourself on fire, Tom. Zeraora wakes up jarringly from this nightmare. Risa, Margot, and Ash finish healing every other Pokemon around. Elsewhere, there's an explosion! And apparently the smoke caused a problem at the power plant. The power is going to go out in the city. In the city, the old lady collapses from the quaking earth. She sure do be fallen in this movie. I feel bad for her.
I mean, she's supposed to be real old.
Yeah, it's really sad to see.
Oh, you feel bad for her now.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
Yeah.
Surely things will get better for her, right? Surely we won't see anything traumatic.
Yes, they'll really pick up by the end. No more sad layers for her.
We saw a man burn alive. Surely it can't get worse than that, right?
Zeraora looks off at the explosion and goes, "Swatch!" and just flies away. Margot's like, "I'm going after Zeraora to help the Pokemon." Ash is like, "I'm going to go after Margot. Risa, you have to take off your shoes and run barefoot through the woods." And Risa's like, "Wait, what?"
Take your shoes off right now. I have this camera. Don't worry about it.
It's weird that Rick instructed me to point these shades at my feet when I take off my shoes. It's so weird. Anyways, Risa says she can't run anymore, but Eevee, still with its leg in a bandage, leaps out of Risa's arms to drag the Eternal Flame to her. She's like, "Why are you trying even though you're hurt? Oh my God. Oh, I have to try harder. You're right." So then she takes off her shoes and socks and ties up her hair and takes off when she hears an imagined starter pistol sound. She even took the track and field position. She will be basically running for the rest of this film.
Run, white girl, run.
No, not against traffic, white girl.
Not in the street, white girl. Oh, God.
Oh, no, white girl. The death toll is so high.
White girl, there's a sidewalk right there. What are you doing?
No, our small village, the population has been ruined by you running into traffic. Torrin realizes at his lab that he can use Team Rocket's berries to make the cure for the city. This is great because the power just went out and his normal method would not work. Callahan starts running up the mountain with Harriet, name of the old lady, by the way, on his back. He runs up to the fire. She tells him to go around. She demands it because she flashes back to being in the fire at the generator 50 years ago. Snubbull is grabbing a key to hand to her, leaps away from the control panel, holding out the key, and an explosion goes off. Harriet reaches out with her hand to grab Snubbull, and the explosion eats Snubbull whole. Snubbull is consumed by the flames, and she gets the key. The hand she reached out with is the same one wearing the glove. That's what we call a Chekhov's gun. Because the kids were like, hey, she sure has a glove. Wonder what's up with that. And I'm like, man, you kids, you're really judgmental. Callahan explains to her that it doesn't matter what happened in the past because they're here with her now. And apparently so is Snubbull's ghost. Yes.
Snubbles never die. I don't know what to tell you.
Is this like an ability I don't know about?
See, because Normal is immune to ghosts, Snubbull could never pass on. So Snubbull has been with her the entire time, watching her become a crotchety old lady.
Me nodding approvingly, like, yeah, this checks out. I'm pretty sure Bulbapedia would sign off on this one. She pulls out the key to the generator and says Snubbull probably protected the key for this very moment. They all work together to put out the fire, including Togepi, who uses an absolutely massive ice beam to blow up some of the fire. It's damn cool. Risa's still running. Rick calls her up on the phone and says, I'm going to guide you to the pedestal, give you the most optimal route. She's like, how are you tracking me? She continues to run for the rest of the movie. At the power plant, Zeraora is trying to save the Pokemon. He attacks Ash when Ash runs up with Margot. Ash says, I understand, but I think you're lonely as hell. Which is an interesting negotiation, Jeff. Pikachu and Zeraora start fighting. Elsewhere, Torin finishes the antidote. The mayor tells the people to evacuate. How the fuck does he think they're gonna do that? The streets are full of gas!
I don't know.
And then he delivers an inspirational speech. For some reason, he's a politician. Callahan and Harriet arrive at the wind generator and work with the Pokemon to get the facility up and running again, which involves manually turning its gears while throwing switches and stuff. Margot, at the power plant, asks Zeraora to stop beating up Pikachu. Zeraora is enraged and accidentally sends a giant surge of electricity towards the crowd of Pokemon. Ash goes, I have the aura, I can take it, and just takes the hit for all the Pokemon.
What's he gonna do? Die twice?
Yeah, very unlikely. Zeraora's respect is earned by this gesture, and he helps Ash stand up.
I like that the movie doesn't even pretend to have a fake out of Ash being dead.
No.
Because this is what, movie 21?
Yeah.
He's far too
He's
powerful.
established to be immune to electricity.
He also, went to Purgatory and came back, so I think we're okay.
I've seen the face of hell, Zeraora, and you aren't it. And then Ash throws some sparkles into Zeraora, who explodes. Torin arrives at the wind generator. Callahan says, hey, I got things working here. And Torin goes, that can't possibly be true. Harriet says, call it a half-truth. Anyways, they're going to throw the ball that contains the antidote up there. Like, literally just throw it. And Torin's, like, freaking out a bit. And Callahan's like, nah, leave it to me. They get the machine up and running. The fans are spinning because when you set it to reverse, that's what it does. Wind turbines. They throw the antidote ball perfectly thanks to the help of Sudowoodo, and the fan blows all of the cure gas, or good gas, into the city, solving the bad gas problem. Everyone's happy and celebrating, but Harriet says, it's not over yet. Ash, Margot, and the Pokemon are trying to put out the fire at the power plant. The mayor and volunteers show up, but Zeraora isn't having it at first. But he relents eventually, and they all work together to put out the fire and get the power plant up and running again to provide power to the city. It looks good until an explosion goes off and an antenna tower starts falling down to crush Margot. And then I realize I don't know a lot about Zeraora, but this is a little weird, like physics-wise. Zeraora leaps into the air with an almost like lightning Shoryuken, with a spark ball around him, and he's like floating in midair the whole time, holding it up, and everyone's like, yay, Zeraora, you're doing it, hooray, hooray. And then he just slowly floats up and puts the tower on top of the building again, even though it no longer has a structural base to stand on and could easily fall again.
Yeah, I don't know why he didn't try and lower that to the ground. I guess, this Pokemon does not know much about physics.
I was about to ask, do you think a Pokemon, mythical or no, understands the concept of physics and human construction?
I think he just got so much electricity running through the thing, it just fuse welded to the base.
You know what? Pretty good explanation.
Yeah, it's as good as anything I've heard.
Can he fly? Is that his thing?
He could Shoryuken real good,
Okay.
I guess. Maybe.
Is this like Bleach? Sometimes they just stand on midair?
No, this isn't like Bleach because this ended.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, Bleach ended for a while there.
But here we are again.
My condolences.
Everyone's really happy Zeraora did that. Risa arrives at the pedestal and plants the eternal flame on top. Lugia appears and Risa begs Lugia to make the rain fall so they could put the fire out. And, I bet she didn't have to beg for that. I bet he would have done it anyways because he's such a nice guy and doesn't facilitate weirdos with bizarre Faustian-like bargains with the children of men to do his bidding. Lugia does it and everything's good. No
Thanks,
moment
Lugia.
of everyone might die because Lugia is some weird middle party that pretends he has no gain in this. The mayor makes a speech like mayors do, and they do a weird lit lantern box sort of like ceremony thing, like a festival thing. Normally you light a lantern and put it on a river and it goes downstream and et cetera, which then made both Bob and I go, is this like, did people die? Normally
right.
This is like for people who passed away. Is this still for the fire 50 years ago?
Maybe.
Is lighting things the best way to mourn the people who died in a fire?
I looked up Zeraora.
Okay.
Just to see if this thing had like a dual type or something that we weren't aware of.
Yeah.
The event Zeraora has a held item. It holds an air balloon. This rules.
That's really good.
That's awesome.
That's really fucking good. Holy shit. We just
Like,
didn't
shit,
see
they
it.
got us there?
I guess. I'm sure if we go back and zoom in, we'll see the tiny balloon.
I'm surprised we didn't see him letting one of the lanterns go.
The mayor declares that they're going to live with Zeraora in peace. Narrator kicks in at the very end and does everything in his power to save the world of Pokemon, but not in that order. He he spreads those words across the whole sentence and kind of backwards. He talks about the bonds people and Pokemon have together. And then we get the credit scene with the song, The Power of Us. In a post-credit scene, Rick is in bed dressed as the host of the Pokemon channel, and Risa demands an explanation for everything. He explains that he wanted the pictures of the Wind Festival, and then he doesn't finish, but you get the idea. And that's it! That's Pokemon Movie 21, The Power of Us, or Everyone's Story. So it's time to get to our segments. But before we get to our segments, did you know you can get early access to Pokemon Go to the Movies over on patreon.com/GB Podcast. You can also get exclusive access to our extras for our Armchair Devs and Gamer Premonition series, and also get early access to Chugging Bleach, the insanely long-running Bleach rewatch podcast. That's patreon.com/GB Podcast. First segment, Whimsy Meter. How whimsical is this movie on a scale of 1 to 10? We're starting with Chris Wolfhard.
Are terror attacks whimsical?
I would submit no.
I feel like in the classical sense, this movie doesn't have a lot of whimsy. It replaced that with being an actual movie. So there isn't anything like the 20-minute long series of, like the 20-minute long, what's the term? When they show a bunch of stuff.
Montage?
Like a montage.
Yeah.
There's not the 20-minute long whimsical montage where we go on a quest to get to the place where the rest of the movie happens.
Mm.
So I'm going to have to only give this a 3 on the whimsometer.
We're 21 episodes in, and only now do I realize that is what we should have called it the whole time. That way, in the comment section, they wouldn't be debating, like, how come no one agrees what whimsy is? They would be like, what the fuck is whimso?
See, that's a Generation 10 Pokemon. Nintendo gave us the exclusive sneak peek.
Oh my god. Shibuya Gato, where do you rate this on the whimsometer?
That's a good question. I did watch both a man and a Snubble burn alive.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
However, the festival at the beginning is very charming. The catching contest is very cute until Tyranitar starts choking, but he gets better. It's fine. He gets better. I think the shitty kids trying to make lemonade is a little bit funny, and you know, we have a lot of gas here, a lot of horrible nerve gas. But we also have Sudowoodo following a guy around, the guy getting upset because, you know, he didn't want it, and then the guy's sister just going, "No, you should keep going. That's funny as hell." So I'm biased, but I'm giving it like a 5. I think it evens out for me.
Dr. Aggro.
There are a lot of concepts in this movie that could be whimsical, with the whole Lugia legend, the electric cat hiding up in the mountain that only the mayor's pink daughter is friends with, the Snubble ghost, if you just get that by itself, directly by itself, just those 2 seconds. But none of it's really handled in a whimsical manner. There's a lot of charm here in this fantasy San Francisco, but really I wouldn't characterize most things in this movie as whimsical, but I'm still going to give it like a 4.
Yeah, I don't know. I get a lot of whimsical feelings from this, other than how real the final disaster is. Like, that's actually a real disaster that could happen. Everything else, like this town and the event there, and just the general, like, kind of coziness of the movie presents, it feels pretty whimsical. It's only brought down for me by that ending part. So I'm going to give it a 7.
So I'm going to explain a little bit. For me, whimsy, a little bit, is sort of like taking a thing that could be framed as just a normal thing, like, say, a forest, shots of trees and whatever, and giving it an elevated level to itself, right? The forest becomes a being. It becomes an emotion. It becomes an element of a thing, a tangible thing, the forest, the spirit of the forest. And I think that's kind of core to the idea of whimsy, at least as it's presented in many Ghibli things, the closest analog to many of these fucking Pokemon movies. This movie, though, is not that to me. This movie is about the connection between people, the very real cooperation between all living beings, all spaces. They're just structures. Nothing is elevated. I honestly believe between the terror attack, that generally, like, I wouldn't say it's weird, but strong, almost objective framing of everything. Everything. Just kind of doesn't make this very whimsical. And it's not a downside. That's just the tone I see this is coming in at. I'm honestly going to give it a 1. If not for the terror attack, it might have gone a little bit higher. Just because there's a little bit of whimsy and a fun festival. And, like, once again, pink hair girl hanging out in the forest with a legendary cat. But even that is just, like, not... It's just a thing.
Yeah,
Like-
there's something like, for me, it feels more genuine. It's not that saccharine whimsical we get in a lot of these Pokemon movies. It feels insanely fake, and that's why I feel like it's still whimsical, but not.
So to me, okay, if we wanted to kick the whimsy higher, which I really don't think this movie needs to, I would think Margot would be talking like and crying and just begging and all sorts of things about how important Zeraora is to everything, and like Zeraora means so much to her, and there would be a tearful moment where she's like, "Oh no, you're hurting Zeraora," and all these things, and it's like she like Zeraora is her friend,
Right.
but it's not elevated above that. It's not like this is the spirit of the forest you're killing. She's not fighting for the spirit of nature.
No.
Nothing is the spirit of nature in this, but everything is nature because we are all of us nature. That's why I think this movie gets a 1.
Okay.
Yeah, the other one was time travel, so that was stupid enough to not be whimsical. Anyway, we're moving on to our second segment, the Dex check. Oh, fuck. This actually does sneak up on me every time because I'm like, yeah, I'm really excited to talk about... I'm really excited to read 300 names and then talk about Pokemon.
Were there even 300 Pokemon by Gen 2?
There are a lot of Pokemon in this movie, weirdly enough. I'm going to say 50. Let's go. Pikachu, Meowth, Wabufei, Eevee, Sudowoodo, Chansey, Staryu, Lurantis, which Lurantis really stands out. Most of these are second gens.
Right.
Lurantis is like, yo, what's up? Smeargle, Vileplume, Snubble, Blissey, Growlithe, Phanpy, Sneasel, Houndoom, Bayleaf, Poliwag, Machoke, Meryl, Apom, Magby. Is it Magby? Magby. Paris, Wooper, Elekid, Skiploom, Caterpie, Bulbasaur, Lickitung, Quagsire, Machop, Pichu, Blossom, Parasect, Nidorina, Ladybug, Mr. My Magnemite, Psyduck, Sunflora, Jumpluff, Fluffy, Sentra, Espeon, Swinub, Grumble. It's terrible. That just sounds like a yellow submarine creature. Igglybuff, Ampharos, Coughing, Delibird, Hoppip, Umbreon, Azumarill, Butterfree, Bayleaf, Caesar, Chikorita, Jigglypuff, Growlithe, Vulpix, Feraligatr, Donphin, Weavile, Quilava, Squirtle, Houndour, Cleffa, Teddiursa, Magneton, Smoochum, Furret, Clefairy, Cyndaquil, Larvitar, Charmander, Bellsprout, Girafarig, Pidgey, Slowpoke, Clefable, Vaporeon, Stantler, Croconaw, Lickitung, Lugia, Zeraora, Totodile, Marill, oh my god, Togepi, Smoochum, Heracross, Xatu, Tyrogue, Machamp, Nidorita, Teddiursa, Ditto, Oddish, Venonat, Mareep, Sentret, Spearow, Quagsire, Stantler, Pidgey, Pidgeotto, Tyranitar, Ekans, Golduck, Fluffy, Hitmontop, Wooper, Bayleaf, Umbreon, Magnemite, oh my god. Why? Skiploom, Hoppip, Jumpluff, Sunflora, why is it looping? Noctowl, Golbat, Girafarig, Parasect, Doduo, Paris, Magikarp, Cyndaquil, Jolteon, Typhlosion, Spinarak, Cubone, Politoed, Dugong, Gorbis, Hoothoot, Jumpluff, Magneton, Magnemite, Bayleaf, Umbreon, Larvitar, and Typhlosion. Oh my god. So Shibuya, what do you think about that?
So I'm kind of baffled as to why this movie felt the need, besides Fomantis, who I didn't even notice. Where the fuck was it? I'm kind of baffled that this movie felt the need to limit itself to the first two gens, Fomantis and Zeraora. But, you know, for mostly sticking with those, it had a really good variety of Mons within gens 1 and 2. I think the fact that, like, we had an entire scene dedicated to a Rattata. We had multiple CGI like Magby and Apom and just a Mr. Mime with a guy who painted himself in gold to act like a statue.
Oh, that was really good.
That was really good.
That was very cool.
There were a lot of very charming background Pokemon that were used very effectively to paint the picture of, yeah, this is just downtown in the middle of a big, suburban city with Pokemon. They're well utilized, but it's kind of jarring to see how much it lacks from other gens. But fuck that. Sudowoodo's a fucking movie star, baby. 6 out of 10.
Dr. Aggro.
Yeah, for reasons we may get into later in other categories, it's understandable that this movie was limited in its gen selection. But being that, as I am an inveterate and curmudgeonly Gen 1er bastard, it felt really nice for me seeing some of the old team come up. But putting all that aside, what we did see here was a nice selection from that palette, and more importantly, really good utilization. It wasn't just, oh, look, here's a smear of random monster designs in the background. They were actually in the scenes doing things. I mean, even the random gaggle that the old lady picked up, we're like, hey, that's a solid team you've got there, lady. I mean, we don't get the Machamp doing as much. Or does she have a Machamp or a Machoke?
I think it is Machamp.
Yeah, because it got the forearms.
It's 4 arms, so it's Machamp.
Yeah, I lamented its ability to feel any emotion other than raising its arms up like it's hyped for shit.
And, like we got to see a Togepi do Hyper Beam. Everybody that showed up got to do something cool. And every time somebody new showed up, I was like, oh, cool, it's one of those things. So I'm going to give it like an 8.
Bob.
Yeah, I got view as aggro here. Like, it's about utilization for me in this category. And everything felt like it was there was a purpose. It felt like we were truly living in a world of Pokemon where every person basically had a Pokemon with them, and we're in some way utilizing it, which I really appreciate. It did not have any Pokemon that I was like, oh, that's my favorite, I'm glad he's here, is a predominant character. But I'm still going to let it even out an 8 because it just feels really nice.
Personally, I don't have a lot of heroes in this cast, and not a lot of focus is given to any of them, but I will say specifically there's a pretty good set. I'm always a little bummed that it's like, this is technically a 7th gen movie. We're limiting ourselves to 2nd gen for the most part, and that's a bit of a bummer. But I gotta give this movie props for making Smeargle an important plot element.
Uh-huh.
For that alone, I'm gonna give the movie a 5 out of 10. Chris Wolfhard.
Yeah, I'm there with Bob and Aggro. Like, I feel like this movie delivers so strongly on what has in the show, and I don't know about the show. I haven't watched that for 20 years. But these other movies that just pays lip service to, of like this truly is the power of us, which is why I also have to give it an 8.
Oh, that's pretty strong. That averages out to a score of 7. Moving on to our next segment, the gun check. This is a yes or no question. Could this problem have been better solved with a gun, Dr. Agro? You get the much coveted first spot on this.
So, because this category is by convention limited to events that happened in the movie, and not just going, if they would have just armed all of those forest rangers to, take care of business with the Pokemon hunters, maybe this whole situation wouldn't have occurred.
What, like the guys with the net?
No, the guys who should have been there to stop the guys with the net.
Yeah, like the guys who found Reese, they're like, haven't you heard of the curse? Yeah, they should have been like fully armed and staffed up. There's so much happening in this movie that I don't think all of the problems could be prevented. But I think if Torin was packing, and instead of just poking his head out and going, who's there? Who's next to all of my doomsday devices? He would have just like hit a button on his laptop and sentry guns popped out of the ceiling and just spray and prayed. I think we may have prevented the poisoning and paralysis of hundreds of citizens. Yeah, I think he should have castle doctrined Team Rocket and maybe saved us all a lot of trouble. I'm going to go with yes.
Bob.
Yeah, that's... It feels hard to, like, there's no definitive villain here. The only thing you can stop is Team Rocket from stealing that thing and losing it.
I would argue Callahan's right there.
What would even taking him out do to...
It would stop the rumor about the legendary in the area, which at least prevents a large number of things that happen.
I mean,
but not all of them.
That's not like the main thing, though. That's a bad thing that's brought up from 50 years ago in like a re-emerging wound. It's not there's gas.
But here's the thing. If Ash wasn't distracted by that, he could have found the nerve gas in time. He's like Batman. He could have only made it to one warehouse, Bob, and he ended up at the one with Two-Face.
So yeah, I'm going to say no, because it's really vague on how we prevent this, like who we kill.
Look, here's the way I got to break this down, okay?
Uh-huh.
The idea of the gun check is that could the movie better be solved by blank, right?
Right.
This movie is inevitable. It's like fucking Thanos. You can't introduce a gun and prevent it. Some end of it is going off.
Right, yeah, you can't just stop all of it.
And just because we'll feel better because Callahan got what he deserved.
Which uncle hurt you?
That doesn't mean the movie...
He wanted to be the cool uncle. What is the crime here?
I'm pretty sure he's committed several crimes. I just haven't known him more than 30 minutes. I'm going to say no. Gun check, not really solving the movie. Kind of just changing it. Chris, what do you think?
Yeah, I gotta be there with Dan. Like, there's so many elements to this movie. A gun could only solve at most one of them. So, I can't really say a gun would solve this one.
Shibuya-gato.
Now, Agra, I'm posing a question to you.
Mm-hmm.
You think that Torin enacting Castle Doctrine would have fixed, at the very least, our nerve gas problem, correct?
Mm-hmm.
You think Torin has the guts to fire a fucking gun?
I think if Torin had a gun, went through the certification and the training necessary, I think his confidence might have improved, altering several other vectors of this story.
But I'm sorry, they have Wobbuffet. It's over. It's
Yeah, Wobbuffet protects. The bullet deflects and hits him in the head. Then there's no cure for the gas. Millions are dead.
It's like
absolutely not.
It's like the old YTMND edit. Wobbuffet's jiggling as bullets fly away from it.
A gun does not solve any part of this fucking movie. Absolutely not.
Okay. Well, that's 4 for no, 1 for yes. We have to move on to our next segment, which is the MVP, most valued Pokemon. Who was really bringing it this film? And Bob, you get what is actually the most coveted slot in all of these. You get to go first on this one.
all right. I'm going to give it to Torin's Chansey. She's there for him. She's the only thing giving him the confidence to make the cure to the problems he caused.
He could have had a gun, but whatever.
Chansey could have given him a gun. I guess.
I feel like Aggro is becoming Professor Farnsworth in the Wizard of Oz episode where he's like, you don't need courage anymore. You have a gun.
Aggro, you're missing the obvious solution to this. Torin will never fire. You give Chansey the gun. Chansey will take the shot.
Chansey's already got a gun.
Right next to the egg.
This is a weird one. This is a weird movie to have an MVP for me. I'm going to have to give it to Wobbuffet, though, because, man, that is actually the most effective that dude has been in any of these films. It was instant. He's like, and we're out. See ya, sucker. We go next to Chris Wolfhard.
Tyranitar. For teaching everybody the importance of insurance and why this is probably a stupid event.
Who's your favorite character? Godzilla. Why? He wrecked some shit. It was awesome.
Yes. Hopefully there was some city watching this is like, and then like the mayor slowly threw out his plans for the running of the Rhyhorns.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would destroy a city, no matter what.
That's really likely. God, Rhyhorns. Not even Tauros, Rhyhorns. Your city is fucked with Rhyhorns running around.
Those things are like trucks with legs.
Yeah, at that point, you should just be like, so we've dumped 1 million Kangaskhan's in the city. Good luck surviving. Shiba Yagato, it's your turn next. Who's your MVP?
I think anybody who doesn't know what I'm about to say clearly has not been listening to every prior episode of this podcast that this man is in. Sudowoodo the goat. Literally, without Sudowoodo, we could not have counteracted the fucking nerve gas.
It's true.
He genuinely brings something important to the table here, and he is adorable doing it.
Yeah.
I love that little bastard.
Sudowoodo looked at Callahan as well and was like, I can change him.
Sudowoodo literally did fix him.
And yeah, exactly.
He succeeded where many others have failed.
Mm-hmm. Really incredible. Dr. Aggro, who's your MVP?
Oh, I'm so sorry. And you're all monsters. The correct answer is Snubble.
I'm just going to post a screenshot from my notes in here.
Yeah, no, we're not getting that big magic windmill back up and running. If 50 years ago he hadn't laid the groundwork for our salvation.
That's true.
I mean, this is a movie with a large ensemble cast, and all gave some, but some gave all.
Wow.
Big words. Our next segment is Ash in a coma, but thanks to the diligent work of this series, we already know the answer to that and the conclusion of that. So we move on to our next segment, Arceus Ex Machina.
Hang on a second.
What's up?
I think we need to talk about the fact that this is a new Ash. This is clearly not the old Ash.
Are we going with an Ash was reincarnated theory?
This is some kind of tulpa. Like, the universe needed an Ash to exist. And, like, look me in the eye and tell me you don't think that if this was the original Ash and those kids sicked their fanfy on him, he wouldn't have just decked them. Those kids would be dead from 10-year-old bulldozer fists.
Aggro, dying changes you. Like, he's no longer held back by the fear of death. All these baggage that a person has holds you down due to mortality. He's in the afterlife now. Obviously, that causes some changes.
Wait, is this the afterlife, or did he come back?
No, he's in the afterlife.
Is he Ash the White?
No, he's in the afterlife. This is all the next realm.
That explains why it doesn't.
That explains the budget.
And also how it doesn't show up on any map, but is weirdly very much second gen.
That's a cute theory. However, I'd like to posit something a little different. We've reincarnated. This is the same Ash, but also new. So he can still tank some shit. He knows a little bit less because he can't quite remember things as they were. But he remembers just enough to kick ass, take names, and tank a thunderbolt from a fucking legendary.
Yeah, he never knew a life where he couldn't do that. He was just born with that latent ability.
I feel like this is kind of like the Kratos in the new God of Wars. He knows all of that happened.
Uh-huh.
He already killed himself on Mount Olympus once.
Yeah.
He knows he can come back for anything.
That's true.
He's much stronger and wiser. It's been 100 years. And he's wandered back into the world of Pokemon.
Holy shit.
Well, we're moving on to our next segment, Arceus Ex Machina. How big are the plot holes just so the movie ends on the status quo of the show? This is a 1 to 10 scale, and I will go ahead and get us started. Aside from various, let's say, physics or chemistry related questions of like the moment they said our plan to battle the gas is another gas, my brain just went wild with questions about gases' chemistry properties. I'm like, are they going to interact weirdly? Do either gas combust? It was a little strange. Ignoring that, though, I would say there aren't any massive plot holes to get things normal here. I think it's just, the people who gave everything and the people who all worked together who made this barely possible. Because once again, this movie isn't like elevating people above the individual. It is all of us, right? It is people working together. It is Pokemon working together. There's no and then Celebi came out of the hole in the sky and made it all better because it was no longer dry celery. So I'm just giving this a 1. This wasn't easy, but they managed it. Chris Wolfhart.
I mean, this is clearly completely decoupled from the reality of the show, so there's no longer any status quo to return to. 0. This is clearly some entirely different reality. All the old one faded away with Ash's heartbeat.
Shiba Yagato.
Yeah, it's another AU continuity movie, so there really is no status quo to maintain. I mean, I guess if I'm going off the status quo of the last movie, since it's that timeline,
seemingly, yeah.
I mean, it wraps up pretty nicely. There's no big things to worry about. Lugia showed up the way he was scheduled to and said, "See you, bitches," and then left, and everyone was fine. So I'm giving it the 1.
Dr. Aggro.
Yeah, even if you had to reckon this to the continuity of the show, there's not really anything terribly altering. We've seen super science in Pokemon before. We're never more than a bad day and some idiot away from another doomsday device. Lugia turns out to be shit at his job unless somebody else sets his alarm clock. Nothing new here. I'm gonna give it a 1.
Jesus Christ.
Those big ass hands on his wings, and for what? He doesn't set an alarm. He doesn't write anything on the calendar. What is he doing?
Hey, Bob, what do you think?
Yeah, even were this the same universe, even if this were at the exact same time in the anime where they're in Sun Moon, he could even just gone on a plane and done this. This is nothing out of the ordinary, nothing extraordinary. This is another typical day. I'm giving it a 1.
Okay, well, that brings us to our final category, our rating. Which, reminder, that is on a scale of 1 to 809, how many Pokemon there were in 7th Gen. And we're starting this segment with Chris Wolfhart.
I really enjoyed this. I feel like this was all worth it to get to this movie, which I never would have watched outside of the context of this show. It had a really great tone and was very pretty and delivered on a lot of the premises of Pokemon as a whole and also the previous movies. And Jesse is really hot in this. 721.
Shiba Yagato.
Just for clarity, I had seen this movie before we started doing this series, so I knew that eventually there was a light at the end of the tunnel of everything from Gen 4 up till now. As soon as the legendaries started talking, I had to just shut my eyes, take a deep breath, and go, Power of Us is here, Power of Us is here, just wait. And yeah, this movie is not perfect, but it is by far the best of these movies, for me anyway. It manages to balance a huge main cast, distribute their time and their importance to the plot pretty evenly. All of the stories end up intersecting in a way that feels like it works for the climax, and the theme of working together and accepting help to find your own inner strength is really nice and charming for a Pokemon movie. I've had to sort of grapple with the fact that Pokemon the Movie 3 is my favorite Pokemon movie, but this is my favorite movie that has Pokemon in it. This is not a Pokemon movie. It does not follow that formula. It's just a good fucking movie. I am giving it an 807 for Zero Aura because that's its dex number, and also because this movie is phenomenal.
Dr. Aggro.
Yeah, I mean, like this movie, it's just good. Like it's structurally what it does with its ensemble cast is impressive on its own merits, and then it's also got a bunch of cool Pokemon shit in it. The budget is back. There are shots in this movie. It's well directed. I felt like flakes of crust that had built up around my heart crumbling and falling away. I'm gonna give this movie like a flat 750. This was wonderful.
Bob.
Yeah, there's not really much else to say. Like, this is actually just a good movie after so long.
Yeah.
I didn't think they had it in them, really. So, yeah, I'm also just going to give it a 750. Like, that's great stuff in here.
Yeah, this is a really good film. Like, it's just a really good watch. It's fantastic. You know, you can look at a lot of these and feel like they are a Pokemon product compressed into the shape of a film. You know, we have to ship product.
Mm-hmm.
It has been very factory-like until now. This was a great experience. I didn't expect it to just be a normal-ass film, and that's why everyone fucking enjoys it. With this great cast, with many motivations and character types, complicated interactions. It's really good. It's really good. I've also been mulling over what Shibuya said and trying to figure out what is my favorite Pokemon movie versus movie in the Pokemon movie franchise. Because, yeah, I think this is really easily the best movie we've seen so far. I'm going to give it 752. It's so easily recommendable to normal humans who enjoy movies.
Right?
That's what
yeah.
I thought. Like, this is a movie like, oh, you haven't watched Pokemon movies since like the first three? Watch this one. You don't need to know shit about anything that happened in the last 20 years.
Yeah.
You want to know something funny related to that? I was looking up some stuff about the movie behind the scenes. This was the first Pokemon movie to get a fresh score on Rotten Tomatoes ever.
Wow.
It fucking
That makes
shows.
sense because it's a real movie.
Yeah, and Jesse's summertime fun time outfit is really pulling weight there.
As an addendum, I made a joke earlier about how this is like almost a psyop for Pokemon Let's Go, Pikachu and Eevee. And to be realistic, that is mostly a joke. People loved Eevee before this movie. Much more realistically, this is a psyop to trick people into watching all the rest of the Pokemon movies.
It's a psyop to gaslight you into thinking shit like this podcast is a good idea.
Yeah, it's the sort of thing that might lure one or more of us into this. Anyways, that gives it a total number of 3,780, which sounds like a big number, but who knows? That involves dividing by a number and then a different number, so you'll have to do that yourselves. I'd like to thank you for listening to this episode of Pokemon Go to the Movies, where you don't have to Pokemon stay home, but you can't Pokemon... you can't Pokemon stay here, so Pokemon go home.
And Pokemon Power Up, yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yeah, definitely.
That's a... Oh, because of the Pokemon Power.
Yeah.
Up.
Mm-hmm.
Pokemon Power Up. Do you think that's a mechanic in the next one?
Absolutely.
Oh, hell
Enjoy
yeah.
the Pokemon power of our next podcast. Because we still got movies left.
That's true. This isn't the last one, although maybe it should have been.
This is the peak, but this is not the end.
It's okay. The director did one more after this.
There should have been at most one more episode of this.
Well, listen, no. Detective Pikachu also exists, so that's...
Yep.
You know.
So this is our first...
I said should in a perfect world.
I'm hopeful for the Forest movie. Unfortunately, that's not even next.
No, not at all. Anytime I'm struggling in the next, 3 or 4 episodes of this podcast, however many we have left, I'm just gotta remember, do it for him. You have to understand, I've peaked here. It'll never be this good for me again.
Yeah, that's fair. The executive producers for this GigaBoots video are Esme, Ely Broyles, Spaceman Spiff, Red Blaze 27, Brendan O'Sullivan, A Reminder for Symphony of War, Cooper Tank, Very Best Plot, Iconic Bane, and Rado. Thank you very much to our executive producers. And also these guys. If you want to become an executive producer or normal patron, head on over to patreon.com/gigaboots today.